Janine Laurent's heart pounded like the gondolier's oar against the emerald lagoon as she slipped beneath the Rialto bridge. The moonlight fractured on the rippling water, casting silver shards across the stone. For 2 glorious days, Venice had been a dream. Pastel palazzos, orchestral church bells, and Mark's hand warm in hers as they danced through hidden alleys. But tonight, beneath a postcard-perfect sky, her paradise splintered. She paused at the archway's shadow and peered into a narrow canal. There, bathed in lantern glow, Mark's arms wound around someone else, Isabella Moretti, a local artist, with raven hair and eyes like storm clouds. Their passionate kiss felt like a blade to Janine's chest. Seconds later, Mark spotted her. His face flinched from pleasure to horror. Isabella stepped back, guilt mingling with defiance. Janine fled, breath ragged, every footstep echoing betrayal. Minutes later, stranded on a silent caller, Janine dialed for the US consulate, but found flights sold out, phones dead, and the language barrier closing her off. Alone in a foreign city with her heart in tatters, she made a vow under the stars. Mark would pay for this disgrace, not with threats or violence, but with poetic justice only Venice could offer. Over the next few minutes you will witness glimpses of paradise, how Venetian magic lulled Janine and Mark into bliss until the cracks appeared. First doubts, the subtle signs, the mysterious texts, Mark's unexplained absences, Isabella's haunting sketches, that laid the groundwork for betrayal. The passionate embrace, Janine's shattering discovery in a gondola's moonlit reflection. Stranded and shocked, her desperate efforts to escape, thwarted by sold-out flights and the city's labyrinthine streets. Crafting Retribution, Janine's strategic use of Venetian art and legend to weave a public reckoning that would expose Mark's infidelity. The Venetian Masquerade, at Carnival, masks concealed truths, until Janine unmasks them in the most dramatic of fashion. Retribution unleashed. A flood of emotion as a hidden mural reveals the affair to the entire campo, igniting shame and penitence. Aftermath and forgiveness. Mark's contrition, Janine's moral crossroads, and the fragile threads of reconciliation. Expert advice. Corner. Guidance from a couples therapist on healing after an overseas affair, and from an international attorney on managing divorce in foreign jurisdictions. Next story, sins of the sister-in-law. Next, a family torn by in-law rivalry and deceit, where loyalties and legacies collide. Morning light slanted across the canal as Janine drifted into consciousness. Each breath tasted of salt and possibility. Yesterday had been perfect. Breakfast of fresh pastries at a quiet campo, Mark's teasing cheers as she attempted gelato for the first time without smearing it all over her face, and that private gondola concert under floating lanterns. They explored hidden corners, an abandoned cloister with climbing ivy, a silent bookshop where Madame Bianchi guided Janine's fingers over leather spines in gentle Italian whispers. Mark watched her, dazzled by her curiosity. Janine marveled at him, so attentive, so full of wonder. She thought of home, where routine masked romance. Here, every reflection on water was a mirror to their love. But as they strolled along the Rio de San Polo that afternoon, Janine noticed Mark's gaze drift to a narrow corner where a woman in a painter's smock lingered. He turned away when Janine caught his look, brushing it off with a joke about artist's block. Yet Janine felt a prickle. That evening, over Sicchetti and Prosecco, Mark praised Isabella's nightscapes, her depictions of Venice by moonlight. He described wanting their own portrait painted. Janine forced a smile, stirring a meagre olive tapenade. "Sounds lovely," she said, though her chest tightened. Later, climbing the steep cobblestones back to their palazzo, Janine reviewed the day's photos. A shot of Mark and Isabella, sharing a conspiratorial grin as they examined a canvas. A candid of Isabella's hand brushing Mark's forearm. The images glimmered in her mind like poison. Am I overthinking? She pressed her palm to the column beside her, heart thrumming. Back at the suite, Mark showered while Janine traced Isabella's signature on the gifted painting. "The city reveals her heart in hidden corners," the plaque read. Janine shivered, wondering if some corners were meant to remain unseen. By Wednesday, doubt had woven itself into Janine's every thought. Mark's phone buzzed constantly, messages from Chaim and unknown area codes. She watched him slip into the bathroom with the device. On the mirror, smudged lipstick traced his own mouth shape. At dinner, Janine asked about a cryptic text. "Meeting at midnight. Don't be late." Mark's face froze. "Work emergency," he lied. She refused to press further, but the words lodged in her mind. That night, sleepless, she wandered Venice's deserted alleys. The soft lapping of water echoed her heavy thoughts. She found herself at the Scuola Grande di San Rocco, staring at Tintoretto's dramatic canvases of betrayal and redemption. In the arrest of Christ, betrayal's pain radiated from the canvas. Janine's reflection trembled. She felt both Christ and Judas, victim and betrayer. Returning to the palazzo, she passed Isabella's studio door ajar. A single candle inside cast dancing shadows. Curiosity bloomed with dread. She slipped in, heart pounding. Sketches littered the floor, studies of Mark's profile, his hand on a woman's waist, his lips parted. On a corner table, a half-finished portrait. Mark and Isabella in each other's eyes, worlds away from Janine's adoration. A floorboard creaked. Janine ducked behind an easel as Isabella emerged. "A gift for Mark," Isabella murmured, smoothing her brush across the canvas. "He inspires me." Janine felt sick. She backed away, bumping a stool. Isabella whirled, brush raised. "Who's there?" Janine fled into the night, breath ragged. She reached the canal and stared at her reflection, the moon fracturing on water. Doubt became certainty. Mark's betrayal wasn't a rumor. It was unmasked truth waiting to be revealed. That night, Janine insisted on a lake gondola ride, her guise of rekindling romance. The boat glided beneath stone archways alive with mist. Mark rode in silence. When they paused under the Ponte delle Guglie, Janine feigned fatigue, leaning forward so she could glimpse his reflection. Far off, another gondola drifted. The lamplight revealed Mark and Isabella entwined, lips pressed in a kiss that stole Janine's breath. She gripped the oar, heart hammering. The gondolier's lament drifted too close, a mournful melody of loss. When Mark spotted her, he froze. Isabella leapt away, brushing makeup-stained fingers across her mouth. Mark stammered apologies. Janine's world spun. The gondolier's song seemed to mock her. She jabbed the oar into the water, sending ripples of sound. "How long?" Mark's glance flicked between the silent waters and Janine's stabbing gaze. "It's complicated." She rose, cloak billowing. "Is this your idea of a secret romance?" He swallowed. "It's not what you think. Save it." He tried to reach for her hand. She pushed away. The cold canal breeze tore at her hair. She slid from the gondola and sprinted along the quay, heels echoing on flagstones. Mark traced her path by lantern light, his calls echoing hollow. Inside the palazzo, Janine paced the drawing room. Lace curtains outshone her tears. She dialed home. Only voicemail. Her children's laughter in previous calls now haunted her. She sank on a gilded armchair, silence crushing. Tomorrow, she vowed, she would unmask the deeper betrayal hidden beneath this physical act. Morning broke with a dull ache. Janine retrieved her phone. No flights available for 72 hours. The consulate's number went unanswered. In the Piazza San Marco, she watched pigeons scatter, tourists sip cappuccino, life moving while hers unraveled. She found a small pensione near Campo Santa Margherita. The landlady, Rosa, offered hearty minestrone in broken English. "You look lost," Rosa said. Janine managed a nod. "Si, lost. In betrayal and in city." They shared bread. Rosa listened. When Janine left, she gifted a hand-painted tile. "Carry hope." Armed with coffee and tile, Janine returned to Antonio's internet cafe. She researched local divorce laws, a 6-month residency requirement for filing in Italy, recognition treaties with the US. She printed summaries from the International Family Law Association website, but legal logistics paled next to emotional disorientation. In a masked mime performance, a silent actor clawed at his heart. Janine wept in the square. Passers-by offered tissue. She tucked each one into her pocket as talismans of resilience. That night, she sampled Venice's clandestine jazz bar, hiding behind a feathered mask, staying lost among shadows. She scribbled in her journal, "I thought love was forever. Now I know it can be a lie, but Venice, ancient and unbowed, teaches me that beauty and betrayal can coexist." Janine devoted Thursday to strategy. She revisited Fondazione Musei Civici, consulting Luca about public art traditions. In the dusty archives, Janine uncovered 18th century mural walls, murals exposing public vices during Carnival. Often ephemeral, they left an imprint on social conscience. She partnered with Maria the printmaker. In a fresco workshop lit by tallow candles, Janine traced stencils. M for Mark entwined with Isabella's painted swirl. A broken heart drips like Venetian blood. The Latin phrase, Veritas liberi faciet, the truth will set you free. They mapped a site, the Ruga Giuffa, a wide stone embankment where crowds gathered before midnight parades. Maria protected the stencils. Janine masked her face with powder and rouge. During the day, Janine wove herself into Isabella's circle, attending open studios on the Dorsoduro. She coaxed details from Isabella, her inspiration, her dreams, her feelings for Mark. She feigned friendship while gathering personal confidence. Isabella called Mark La Mia Musa more than once. Janine captured Isabella's offhand comments on her phone recorder, each phrase a brick in her moral case. Janine approached a street poet, known for bearing civic sins in spontaneous verse. She commissioned a couplet for Carnival night. "Beneath the masks we hide our shame, but Venice speaks each treacherous name." The poet agreed, his voice promising that the couplet would resonate like a gong at that midnight hour. By Friday, Janine had shaped a tapestry. Private study of law and art, public spectacle, an ethical buffer. She aimed not to destroy, but to reveal. Venice, in its ghostly grandeur, would bear witness. Carnival night arrived in a swirl of sequins and whispers. Janine, cloaked in velvet black with a crimson trim, joined the masked throng at Campo San Polo. Music swelled from brass bands. Gondoliers sang bawdy ballads from illuminated platforms. A haze of perfume and incense hung in the air. Janine pocketed her poems and stencils. At 11:45 p.m., she slipped away to Ruga Giuffa. Maria and the street poet awaited, shivering with excitement. They set up under a carved stone arch. Janine pressed the biggest stencil, Mark's intertwined initials against the cold brick, and sprayed it with quick-dry paint. A moment's labor, then the next stencil, then the poem in flowing red letters. "Beneath the masks we hide our shame, but Venice speaks each treacherous name." Bleached paint dripped like tears. The wall glowed under torchlight, a confession written for every reveller to see. Back in the crowd, Janine watched. Mark and Isabella approached, their masks glittering. As they passed the lit mural, Mark's hand flew to his heart. Isabella gasped, clutching her mask. The crowd hushed, then murmured. A young Venetian raised a finger to his lips, reciting the couplet. Others joined, a chorus of truth piercing the carnival revelry. Janine felt adrenaline and regret clash. She blended back into the dancers, tears sparkling beneath her mask. She had made her statement. Now she wondered, had she gone too far? By dawn, the mural photos flooded social media. #Venetian Lies trended. Tourists posed before the confession wall. Local papers ran headlines. Carnival expose, romance or deceit. Isabella's studio door rattled with knocks as curious onlookers demanded explanations. Mark arrived, unmasked, his collar stained red from hastily wiped paint. He barged in. "How could you? How could you betray me where beauty holds its breath?" Isabella toppled canvases, tears flooding her cheeks. "I loved him," she sobbed. Janine watched fury and pity wrestle within her. Isabella's youthful passion felt genuine, though misguided. Mark stared at Janine, mute confession in his eyes. The artist in Janine recognized a fellow creator, one who painted her truth across a wall at midnight. That afternoon, Janine visited Isabella's battered canvases in her loft. She offered to commission new work. Truth through art, not shame. Isabella nodded, hope and guilt warring on her face. Later, Janine confronted Mark privately in the palazzo's courtyard. "I didn't want to destroy you," she said quietly. "I wanted you to feel loss." Mark bowed his head. "I know." In the silent light of dawn over the lagoon, Janine forgave him the affair's existence, but not its secrecy. She demanded honesty or exile. Mark, broken, agreed to leave Venice and seek her forgiveness on her terms. Janine's final day in Venice was quiet. She walked alone across the Ponte dell'Accademia, gazing at gilded reflections and weathered wood. She stopped at a cafe where she and Mark shared their first cappuccino, remembering laughter and promises. Now she sipped espresso slowly, savoring clarity born of pain. Mark appeared at the cafe's door, travel bag in hand. He approached unmasked, vulnerability etched into every line. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for every lie." Janine studied him. Husband, betrayer, penitent lover. "Promise me honesty," she said. "No more masks." Mark nodded, tears glinting. "Always." They embraced, tentative, two hearts scarred but willing to try again. Janine felt the fragile ember of hope. Betrayal could not kill love if honesty nurtured it. Expert Advice Corner. Therapeutic guidance. Infidelity in travel. Address cultural immersion stress. With cultural competency therapy to manage romantic idealization abroad. Rebuilding trust. Use the Gottman Trust Scale. Small daily actions, consistent honesty, and structured trust-building exercises. Emotional processing. Narrative therapy helps articulate betrayal story and reclaim agency. Legal advice, defamation and public art. Ensure factual basis before public accusations. Document proof to avoid legal retaliation. Foreign divorce proceedings. Coordinate with U.S. counsel to lodge provisional judgments. Understand residency and recognition treaties. Asset protection abroad. Use prenups and trust structures to safeguard property when overseas. Back in New York, Janine unpacked her suitcase and found a gilded invitation. Wyatt Estate, April 20th, black tie. It was for her brother-in-law's wedding to the daughter of a Fortune 500 tycoon. The gossip mill churned. The fiancé's past was rumored to be tangled with old family secrets. Janine felt a familiar spark. Another tale of loyalty tested, deception unearthed, and vengeance, or grace. Next up, Sins of the Sister-in-Law, a saga of in-law rivalry, hidden wills, and the price of family loyalty.